barn burners, and then game 2 kind of falling off to the wayside, kind of falling away from what was finding them success. We're already through most of pick ban here, and it is saying the same, the exact same, and we're even saying on the same sides here. For LGD, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It is on LG or on anyone's legend. What do you pick to try to change up some of this matchup? It's going to be taking away Xayah Rakan from Envy and Jinzhou.
I mean, again, yeah, taking away the Xayah Rakan is good, but LGD could be just saying, look, anything you could do, we can do better. Get the Lulu Aphelios locked and loaded here. Maybe even a Lulu, Aphelios Annie, to be perfectly honest. You've got the Vi already, and we saw how well Meteor was able to pilot that champion in the last game, but I still like the Lulu here as well. I think it does give you a hell of a lot of kind of setups. I will say, though, it means that your early game is going to basically be dominated by the Xayah Rakan because you won't have as much trade power, but those team fights, it's going to be nigh impossible to be able to kill off the Aphelios.
If it isn't this Enchanter, then they could go for a Nautilus just for the straight-up counter into Rakan, and it still would give them a lot of engage, would give them that backline threat. And this was a time where I did want to see them go for more engage, something that is going to be a little bit more upfront. It isn't as maybe... I need something from AL that is going to be concrete. It isn't like, oh, we have this Cyclone that we could use that is temporary CC, but not really going to be able to lock someone down. Gragas was the champion that I thought, hey, Decade took it last time, and while didn't participate in too many fights, is still a champion that, if utilized correctly, if used as a threat, will make it very difficult for Envy and Jinzhou.
Absolutely, and getting the Gragas in there can be flexed towards top or into the mid lane. I think it would more so go to harder than it would anybody else. I have to triple check my stats on that one there, but yeah. It does feel like AL trying to get rid of all of these kind of, Annies, the Aries. They're the ones that are kind of saying, look, we need this Gragas to survive, and not only survive, we need them to thrive. So getting rid of all these massive kind of, AoE picks definitely feels like the name of the game here for the side of AL. And again, love this from LGD saying, cool, well, we'll take away the dive options. We'll get rid of the Wukong, the Nocturne. You're lacking in a little bit of extra kind of frontline here. Maybe AL take a page out of WE's book and go for that Nautilus jungle.
Maybe. Would mean that they have a lot of magic damage coming in from their top side of the map. Picking Kha'Zix to be that backline threat is not guaranteed to get there, so need to watch how Xiao Hao will actually play, but definitely an aggressive player at that. LGD, you have your jungler and you have your mid laner here, or your top laner, sorry, your solo lanes to be able to pick up. I was wondering what was going to happen here. I do not like Syndra in this instance. It is very susceptible to Zora being an engaged tool with this Rakan. I think they're going to need a little bit more time to figure out what their mid pick is, because you need a mage, someone that can operate at a long range but isn't going to be as easily killed.
Pick
You see
LeBlanc.
Ahri and Anna here.
Go on, pick LeBlanc.
Okay.
Pick it.
No.
Oh, come
No.
on, lads.
Okay, wait a minute now. Veigar's a lot better. Do not
it
do
looks
the
like
Syndra.
it probably is going to be the Syndra, being totally honest. Hai Chao is a Syndra player, something he's very comfortable on in this current meta, and it does give them kind of blow up potential as well. So we're going to see the Gwen locked and loaded here. So AL, yes, they have better engage options, but they're still kind of working with that kind of, bruiser / carry top laner that will have to try and just kind of, not get caught out. If the Gwen gets burnt out so quickly that they have no impact, that champion does not get to play the game. That champion does not kind of, get to have an impact. So really for AL, the burden of execution is still very, very high.
I love what AL have here. On paper, if we were to take nameplates off, I would prefer this draft. You have a winning topside matchup. You have iBoy and Zora, who, while on the Xayah Rakan, will be able to get pushed pretty easily compared to a Lulu and an Aphelios. And in mid lane, that is just a free kill. If you can get the summoner spells out very early on, you can rinse, repeat, gank this guy. You have the Gragas, who will not take a lot of damage. Even early on, he will get pushed in, but has so much sustain. And if he is going AP, can straight up one-shot Hai Chao in the mid lane. I think it's a very difficult draft here to execute from LGD side. They need to play very perfectly. They need to have aggressive games, aggressive kind of laning early on. And we'll have to see what Meteor can do. He has been the early driver for this team. Same could be said for Xiao Hao on the opposite side.
Absolutely, but LGD, they find themselves in familiar territory. A great first game. They need to turn it into a win. They need to try and turn their season around if they want to have any chance of making it to top 10. And look, all you got to do is give yourself a chance. If you're in top 10, that means Worlds is still something you can attain. It's still something you can push for. but you gotta start it here. You can't let this go any longer. For AL, a uninspiring game one. Want to see more of them here now in game number 2, as we are looking at maybe a little bit of a move here on the bot side to try and catch out iBoy.
Oh, okay, so he does see Jin Zhao. That's it, should dissuade him from walking up any further. Okay. Gonna be getting pretty standard starts. 5-point across the map. ZDZ being pretty aggressive, and I love that we see ZDZ on this Gwen. Not only for the fact that it allows for a better matchup into the Scion, but also means that ZDZ as a split push threat will have so many more options compared to something like we saw in game 1, like the Aatrox.
We'll wait to see how it all kind of pulls out. And for LGD, again, kind of going with a front to back, nice team count. You got 2 tanks and an enchanter for your bot and your AD carry, and of course your mid laner to make the most use out of. But again, it comes down to who can be the more proactive, who can kind of mitigate some of these moves earlier on in the game. There's a good ward here from the side of AL, does spot out the path of Meteor, and this is the thing, with the Kazakhs now knowing full where Meteor is going to be starting, this could lead to an early invade, look for some isolation damage.
Exactly. Xiaohao on the opposite side here is both of these junglers pathing down yet again. Xiaohao, what he could do is actually just take this red buff, try to go for his Krugs, and then maybe meet over on the opposite side. But the way that this pathing is kind of going does lead me to believe that Xiaohao is actually just going to go for a full clear, and if not that, maybe try to play around top side. It does lead to him kind of losing out, I think, a little bit on the efficiency, as he will have to walk all the way back through his jungle because he started on the Raptor so early on. I think he was just trying to avoid an early invade from Decade on the Scion. Could have potentially been taking the red buff and wanted to save up on HP and prevent something like that happening.
Yeah, just trying to make sure he's in a good position to answer anything that does end up kind of popping up for him now. We will see Meteor going for this Raptor. He knows he's been spotted, so he's not really that worried about the pathing being called out, shall we say. But for now, good moves coming in here from LGD's bot side. And again, they're saying, look, we'll take the matchup, because this time around, we are the ones with the Lulu. We didn't get this banned away, so we're happy to go for this fight. As Xiaohao is going to be spotted out by a ward there. Was thinking about maybe a little bit of an engage or a little bit of an invade. Thinks the better of it afterwards, is doesn't really have priority in mid or bot.
If Meteor walked into that brush, that would have been him farming some first strike gold immediately away from this Vi. But instead, like you said, he's going to go right back into his jungle, and because of that, he is behind a little bit. He still has all of these camps to take, but you see right now, like we were talking about, Haichao and Envy on this bottom lane early on, taking iBoy and Zora to task. Meteor should be able to grab this scuttle, and Xiaohao has the option. Does he want to try and contest for this, or is he just immediately going to skip over into the top side, where Meteor yet again can actually just go over there and contest him?
Again, great moves here from LGD. They're kind of just having much more comfortable setups coming into this game, and now Meteor thinking about maybe going for something in this bot side. Will spot out Xiaohao in that jungle as he's starting to farm up a little bit more, but nicely done here by LGD to kind of mitigate the early presence of the early vision. And this is the thing, I always say this, it's all well and good putting down early ward. It's all well and good saying, look, hey, this is where this guy is, this is where that guy is, all that kind of stuff like that. If you don't do anything with it, it's basically null and void. The information is, the best teams in the world use that information to the best of their ability to try and make something, you know, positive happen for their team.
We'll see. If all you do with that information is try to stop a gank, Haichao, you just cannot be here. Flashes over.
It flashes over, flashed on top of him. First blood, isolation damage is great. Now on the bot side though, seeing Gravitum and some feathers, a lot of CC coming out here. No summoners burned by the side of LGD, but Ignite used by Zora as he thought maybe they could go for that fight.
Yeah, Haichao, this is the problem with this matchup, is as soon as Gragas can get on top of you, that is the biggest issue, and not able to use a Severin here to try to get that. Good job from Jin Zhao to stop Xayah from walking forward and getting any more damage. Gotta know that the Kazakhs was going to be on that top side. Haichao was leaning towards bottom lane. It just wasn't enough. You had too little HP, too little mana as well. So that ends up being the first blood for Xiaohao, as he'll be able to grab the rest of these camps topside, finish his Krugs, recall. Like right here, you just can't be here. That's the moment where he's just too far up. Love that flash from Harder. just over the stun just to make sure that they grab this.
Yeah, really, really well done there for the side of AL. Gets himself first blood and utilizing the power of this Kha'Zix. He's actually farming up a fair bit in fairness to him as well. As Harder knows exactly just how powerful he can be. Meteor moving in towards his bot side is going to spot out the ward that was just there with his own pink. So just trying to be around here so Envy can be a little bit more, you know, kind of liberal with his pushback and get a reset in here for this Aphelios.
Okay. Remember, no flash here in mid lane is something that they could use to grab more and more kills. Zora just now ticking over to level 5, so won't have that ultimate available soon, but I mean, Xiaohao can just finish out on some of these camps, should be really close to hitting level 6. And again, I want to see AL punish the fact that these summoner spells are not available. You have this massive Gragas ultimate to be used to great effect up against an immobile Syndra. And that could open up so much. If you're able to grab this mid kill, you're able to say, yeah, I have priority over mid lane. Harder, you just can't be here. No flash, he doesn't have the E.
Yeah, Harder.
You should be able to hit him with the Q.
Yeah, Envy is here. He just pop out the ultimate there, but might be able to get himself away. Nope, never mind. Meteor picks up that kill, and yeah, I just don't know really what the plan was going to be there. You don't have your flash, and like you said, once he uses the belly slam, he's just dead to rights. So now we're going to see them moving back in on top of Haichao, who's going to be dead a second time. So just really weird pathing from both mid laners, gets them both punished.
Good punish, I think, from AL. Again, we talked about it. No flash on Syndra. That should be an easy target for you. Leads to AL now starting up this dragon. A Meteor on the opposite side of the map will potentially try to start up the Rift Herald spawning in 50 seconds, but such a long timer before that goes up. AL now in a really good spot. You're obviously already winning the top side here. Deke trying to make something happen. Meteor is available, not level 6.
Not level 6, and yeah, Ghost gets popped here by ZDZ, so he would have been able to run away should anything else actually happen. Again, not having that cease and desist makes it very, very difficult. And now it's Xiaohao having such an early aggressive start. He's going to have his Umbral Glaive picked up and ready to go so early on in this game. So having vision control around those objectives is going to be massive here for the side of AL. And they're looking a lot more confident in this early game comparatively to game number 1.
Harder is just has more influence this time around. And it means that he can just do whatever he wants. He knows that this mid matchup is going to be in favor of him unless Haichao is finding more and more kills. Hex Flash comes in, Envy gets caught.
He does get caught, does have to flash away as the feathers were flying. Night Vigil still available, does lose a flash for himself, so Zora happy enough with that trade. And we're seeing this Hex Flash Rakan kind of coming very much into prominence. Kind of picked it up about a week or so ago here in the LPL, and it just seems to be kind of the new flavor of the month. And it does feel like it's kind of being utilized, that flash cooldown so much more often. It's just such a valuable tool.
Especially for Rakan, who loves having additional movement speed as well. Being able to use the Hex Flash, hey, gets you into position a little bit better and definitely could surprise people like we just saw LGD's Envy losing out on his flash. Another timer for them to be looking for. Kha'Zix is on the top side of the map and will get spotted out on this ward. You already see how they're linking up. Zora, after coming out of base, moves mid, shields up his mid laner, knows that they can either go for the top side to try to reinforce this play, or instead, Meteor here trying to make this dive happen. Remember, iBoy does not have this ultimate.
Yeah, no ult available. Meteor now kind of even can be a bit more aggressive in. There's a Gravitum to lock him right down into place. He's not underneath turret aggro just yet. Now the cease and desist can come out. They are not getting the damage down though. Finally a flash in with the wild growth. More CC than you can shake a stick at. LGD make the dive work because they knew the Rift Herald was being taken.
More plates going over to the bot side though, and iBoy gets caught out there. They invested a lot for that play. Even Haichao was trying to feign his way over, but unable to do anything there. Now Xiaohao kind of sitting here. He doesn't have to do all that much. This should be their play for anyone's Legends to start up this dragon.
Should be. Xiaohao able to get himself back onto the map after taking away the Rift Herald, so going to be able to take that one there. Because this now replayed kind of fight took so long, you can see the LGD, they just unfortunately used too many things to try and make a play for that objective.
This is one of the few instances where I will say this is a good death. This is a good death for iBoy. Does get caught out, but they waste so much time. Like you were saying, turns into double objective plays here. Forces Haichao out of the mid lane because Kha'Zix has to just walk right through the laning, through the lane physically. And early dragon here, 10 minutes now. 4 minutes before we see another dragon. The stacking not necessarily going to be a big issue for now, as it is just one dragon. Pretty even, all things considered. Remember, still having that Rift Tailed in their back pocket. They should be looking to either destabilize mid, make sure that Haichao cannot stand under his turret in safety, or put more gold into iBoy.
That's the big thing. Try to get more gold into iBoy, who is doing fairly well. That is a satisfying way to clear a minion wave, if I do say so myself.
Yes.
And now ZDZ, ooh, if he gets stunned up there, he possibly dies. Would have the ghost, or at least loses that summoner, but he'll be fine to dance and prance his way over to that blast cone, get himself back to safety. So now we're coming back into live and seeing that, again, AL, little bit of a gold lead. Not exceptional, but something that they can work with. But they need to be proactive. I need to see them being a bit more, you know, a bit more forceful with this Gragas and Kha'Zix combination.
We only saw one punish onto Haichao without his flash, and it did lead to 2 deaths onto the Syndra, who is far behind. Has not finished the boots, has not even finished their mythic. While they are getting hooked onto harder here, is Meteor actually going to try and make this play? There's no one else around. They should have vision of where Xiaohao is. Meteor instead going to finish off some of his topside camps. You look already, Xiaohao sitting here towards the bottom lane. The Rift Tail is going to be going down soon. So we need to see where they're going to place it. Seems like all they want to do is get all of this vision, put LGD's bot lane in a very tough position.
Yeah, really trying to just force the issue here are AL. And I like that they're doing it. I like that they're trying to be aggressive, trying to see if they can get more going for themselves in this game. And if they can do it just before these first items all start to be completed. But you do have a Black Cleaver now for Meteor. You do have the Kraken Slayer for Envy. So it does feel like, you know, it's still very close in this game. It's not going to be an easy one for them to try and secure for themselves, even if they do get a couple more of these kills.
We're seeing it yet again. ZDZ with a pretty massive CS discrepancy, where everyone else is, for the most part, even. It is Gwen who is just taking off. This is what happens when you have this matchup, where Gwen can very easily farm out, can do a ton of damage to the Scion, and they actually spawn in the Rift Tail to try to take more of this turret. Getting plates over to ZDZ is nice, only gets 1 plate, but look at how they're taking over the top side of the map here. Just full domination, forcing Meteor to come back, recognize that there's nothing here available for him, and saying your only play is go bot lane, and we're totally okay with that.
Yeah, you've got one move, and that move is to go bot, so let's see what Haichao can get to secure on the blue. He will indeed, and or Xiaohao, I should say, over Meteor. And let's see there, just having a little bit of a better time now this particular game, especially on the jungle side of things. So Meteor not exactly a million miles away from him at the moment. Plenty of scattered vision here for the side of AL, but nothing too significant for the moment. Minute 30, just a little bit underneath it till the dragon spawns. We're going to see a TP there from Haichao this time around into that mid lane to try and cover off this wave. And he's got his Luden's Tempest, so he's going to have burst available to him. So this is where the game gets a little bit harder. You can see harder. Oh, just about gets his flash off of the right time, because that was close to being disastrous.
Yeah, the Scatter the Weak canceled out the body slam from Gragas, so he was just stuck. Immediately has to blow the flash. Really important there, as Harder's teleport is coming back up, and this will force it to be used here. 45 seconds before that dragon, like we were talking about. They're going to try and use this time to get damage onto this bottom tier 1. But iBoy, not really having any of that. He's going to try and push out, make sure that this wave is taken down in time. Level 11 procking over for all of our solo laners here. This should be around the time when they're going to be interacting with these teams. Riftmaker done, as well as the Duskblade here for Xiaohao. So we're looking at this Kha'Zix, we're looking at what Anyone's Legend can do with this jungler who is so far ahead at this point.
Xiaohao is massive. No CC to be locked down here for the moment. Xiaohao is a level up as well. ZDZ has already made his way towards
Oh, Meteor, no!
Yeah, don't think that was the play there, mate. You thought you had an opportunity, but you did not expect Xiaohao to be in the vicinity. Now Decade has caught between a rock and a hard place, and he is going to be dying as well. Just error after error here for LGD, and again, we come back to what we talked to for LGD. Game 1, exceptional. Super happy for them. Great to see them kind of coming out and smacking people down. And then it comes to Game 2, and I just don't understand where they go from this. It just feels so alien to how they played in Game 1. They don't know how they're playing now.
They get lost. I think the draft is not doing them any favors as well. And Meteor just can't go for that play. You just saw Kha'Zix in mid lane, crossing with Syndra there. Haichao backing up, thinking he can try to burst out ZDZ like in mid lane. Maybe didn't see Haichao here. I'll give, or Xiaohao, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But just cannot make that play, even if it's just Gwen by herself. She's level 11. Very tough for you to be able to make that play. And then Decade getting paid off with the sins. Oh no.
Yeah, Decade's dead. Not really a lot he can do about this one here. They're trying to give it over to Xayah, but not enough there. Tower goes down. It looks like this game is going to be going, or this series is going to be going to Game 3, and for AL, much, much better from them comparatively to Game 1. Game 1, they looked scattered, not really sure where they needed to go, not quite sure how they wanted to play. This time around, they are going to be coming in a lot stronger, and we have been getting a unholy amount of Chemdrakes today. This is our third one out of 4, so... But again, AL, 4,000 nearly gold up in the Ascendancy. We'll see Envy getting a lot of plate gold, or sorry, gold, local gold from this tower. But you got 2 towers on the bot side. This is a totally fine trade here for AL.
Yeah, the one thing I will say for them is that it is 2 turrets in trade, but there is objective bounty, so looks like it goes about even for either of these 2 teams. Harder now.
Oh, they're looking for something here, but the damage! Trade back of 1 for 1. Mid laners dying to the junglers, but... That's a 4-0-2 Kha'Zix. He is melting health bars right now.
Has a CS advantage. You already see the objective bounties have come out for the side of LGD. I guess what I was going to say before that play is that with this lane being so long in the bottom lane, it does allow for LGD to kind of sit here and do whatever they want with it. I think it's pretty tough for AL to revisit this without breaking down a tier 1 in the mid lane. And that's exactly what they're doing here, or at least they're attempting to do. While they will trade another turret, objective bounty still, again, getting cashed in. Pretty big win there for the side of Anyone Legends. The fact that they were able to find that mid-air Haichao is taken out. There's literally 0 point for him to interact during that play. The Gragas ult comes out, and he's just taking damage the entire time. Just watch what Xiaohao is able to do on such a fed Kha'Zix.
Yeah, I mean... Just so much damage with the burst as well. Just able to do so much in such a short amount of time, and it's just becoming harder and harder for LGD. They do have opportunities to come back into this. 3,500 gold is not unassailable, but it is difficult, especially when you've got your AD carry already on 2 items. They're going to drop down the Rift Herald into this mid lane. Maybe Envy looks to try and get a little bit more aggressive. Hasn't got the greatest of guns, but a TP on the backside here. Harder. He's got flash, explosive cast. They're trying to isolate Envy. They will. The wild growth is good, but Harder goes for a play that just wasn't his to make. And it's a game of throws right now, and I don't know what's going on between these 2 teams.
Yeah, Harder making it much more difficult for his team. Maybe his namesake coming in. TP in the mid lane was just a complete loss there, and the Rift Herald wall did hit. Massive scatter the weak.
Yeah,
gets
of course,
immediately
iBoy
countered out.
into his ult, and this is good for the side of LGD, finally showing lives back into this game, but I will say AL are definitely making it easier for them.
They still have a long road to go for LGD if they want to bring themselves to their first series win here in the LPL. They are still having 3,000 gold, and remember, most of that is in this top side. Xiaohao and ZDZ are the main carries for this game right now. And I just want to see what exactly... So this was supposed to be just a punish onto the fact that they're overextending in mid, but Haichao here, just unfortunate timing, maybe saying I can deal with just the Syndra, but with the Scion here as well. Unfortunate timing at the very least for Harder.
Maybe the ward doesn't quite see that Haichao is there, and yeah, there's a lot of if, buts, and maybes when it comes out to that particular one, and we shall unfortunately never know. Now we come back into live. You've actually got the Radiant Virtue footage up for Meteor, so he's going to be a lot tankier, a lot harder to deal with coming into these fights. Haichao, with teleport available, trying to see if he can push up this wave just a little bit. Will be met by ZDZ on the bot side. And again, they're trying to put in this pressure into this mid lane, but it's just becoming harder and harder to try and go into this one. It's becoming more difficult for AL to make things work. ZDZ going to be caught out onto the side. They're trying to fully commit onto him. He does have the mist, but if everybody's in the mist, you get nothing back. And AL are throwing this 100%. They should not be letting themselves get this far behind after they were so far ahead.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to say is LGD cannot step up for this dragon if they still have no summoner spells on Envy. But that pick dissuades AL from going for this, and now they're going to trade for this. I thought that maybe LGD were going to go for the Baron, but Haichao now sitting in mid lane. They're going to take control of mid lane. They're going to hit all these minions, and then immediately move over. Okay, the dragon being done now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a little too late, though, from the side of LGD. They're going to try and burn it down as quick as they possibly can. Decade does not have his flash. They're TPing in as well. It's not that fast. Meteor over the wall. He needs to be ulted away hard. Is going to commit himself over, but there's the explosive cast to try and get him away. Zora going back in. Oh, Solon! Meteor with the god play! And the Infernum burns down the rest of the team. Boy, you are going to have to flash a scat of the week, a smack down, and it's just that LGD smashing AL around the Baron pit.
There it is, man on your screen makes it happen. Meteor, he walked in to steal a dragon in game 1, and he makes it look so easy here in game 2. The early game was all AL. This mid lane was a hazardous place to be as Haichao. But now, AL are looking at an evened up game. A Baron, as we get to take a look at this replay, Meteor, the fact that there was a good mark from Harder, but now they're out of the pit and no one's dealing damage. iBoy is not hitting this Baron. He's trying to get into the back line. They do not time this.
Oh my god. Perfect flash in. The Infernum just wrecks them on the backside as well. It brings the goal back up into even. It means that you've got about 2 minutes of just pure Baron play as well here from the side of LGD and AL. I mean, they gotta feel rocked right now. They gotta feel very, very sketchy because, I mean, if you're Xiaohao, you're 5-0-2, you're 3-item Kha'Zix. You were doing so well, but Harder 0-3. Your Gwen randomly died. It just doesn't feel like they can go for anything, and now Xiaohao looking for a little bit of a flank here with the Rakan. It's just harder and harder for them to kind of go for this one again. Harder is making this harder. I'll be totally honest. Harder has not looked good on this Gragas.
Oh no. Okay, they're trying to make this pick on the Haichao.
They're trying to make it on the Haichao, and they will be able to get him down eventually. Good scatter of the week will put decent damage on the iBoy, but will stop the Baron push for the moment. We're going to see a TP, or excuse me, a recall coming out from Decade, as he knows that ZDT is just free farming on this bot side. So good moment there from AL, and good to see Harder taking my criticism to heart and pushing himself into a position to make a play.
They've got your audio piped in immediately. AL were like, okay, we're not going to let Ashin slander us like this in the middle of the broadcast. We've got to Harder, make the play happen. Pull the trigger here. They find that it is not a summoner spell used, except for it looks like Jin Zhao's heal in that instance, trying to save them. But Gragas no longer has a flash. iBoy's flash is still not available. These are things that can be punished. We have a dragon spawning in 2.5 minutes. Look for those to be influential. Xiaohao trying to get damage onto Envy. Guess the Moonlight Vigil, but with Crescendum, or with the Severum in his back pocket, he's healing more than enough. And that's a little worrisome for me. Level 14 Kha'Zix unable to one-shot an Aphelios that is out in the middle of no man's land. Is very, very bad news bears if you're an Anyone's Legends fan.
And look, Anyone's Legends are still ahead by 1,000 gold. Their Kha'Zix is still massive. The Gwen is still a threat. But when you've got things like a Scion, like a Vi, a Lulu, these things that just kind of gain HP the longer the game goes on, it starts to feel harder, just more difficult. I gotta stop saying harder because he's in the game, but more difficult and just more tedious for the game, for you to try and burn out this game. I will say, with full summoners available for Envy, he's in a much stronger position to potentially go for a big fight now in a minute 30's time.
And Decade is just holding on to this. We talked about how ZDZ should be a side lane threat. But remember, we talked about by taking all of these turrets, it is very difficult for ZDZ to actually come back and push out this lane. With how much he has to overextend for himself, there has to be another play on the opposite side of the map. They're just not able to get it. So those two turrets, I think, starting to bite AL. Yeah, you got the gold, but you weren't able to turn it into much else, and it is just allowing for Decade to catch back up into this game. He's 70 CS down. That's going to happen in this matchup. He's playing a tank, for crying out loud. He already has his Jokshow, the Sunfire. He will do as much influence as long as ZDZ just isn't able to actually do anything here. Haichao's got to be careful. Does have the Banshee's Veil now to try to avoid any of those knockbacks. But 40 seconds, and LGD, they're taking the high ground. They're going for mid lane first, so they can move straight into this dragon. Xiaohao in a bit of a flank. No one's marked this Kha'Zix.
No one knows he's there yet, but you can see they're feeling he might be around, trying to jump on a Decade and burn him down. But like you mentioned, he's a tank. He is happy to go for these fights for the moment. Even blue buff on Haichao means that he can throw out a couple of Scatter the Weeks and not be too worried about how the game is kind of going. The lane is going to be equaled out, you would imagine. A couple of minions there sneaking themselves past the halfway point, but 5 seconds till Dragon spawns. This would only be sole point for AL. Do they want to try and take a big fight? That is a question. The Cannon minion gets all the way into the turret. Dragon has spawned. Do they want to try and fully force this one? Meteor not going to be there in time, you'd imagine. And honestly, LGD, if they had known, they may have been able to just go straight for that mid lane tier 2, trade that back. But unfortunately for them, they didn't. And therefore, it is just going to be AL, take the Dragon, back and away.
They just didn't make a decision there for LGD. Indecision was the biggest killer for them. They thought maybe we could go for mid lane. No, we have to contest. And instead of doing either of those things, they lost both. They weren't able to grab mid lane turret damage, and they weren't able to contest for the Dragon. So now soul point here for anyone's legend. 30 seconds before this Baron here, Ashin, and I'm a little worried. Even with that fight, we saw it. All it was a stopgap for LGD, the fact that they got that Baron. Aside from that, AL are still in the lead. They're still picking up a gold advantage. They're still pushing out on these side lanes now. And Zhao Hao, oh my god, okay, getting the quickness is so big for them, and teleport coming in.
Yeah, because Decade knows he can just... There's no AD carry, there's no Gwen. Who's going to kill you? No one is the answer. There's a 3-man Scatter the Week into a decimating smash, and everybody's going down. Harder will not be able to escape this, you would imagine. Will have the belly bump in a couple of seconds, but he's already dead. 3 killed because you had no damage dealers, AL. You had nobody to put out DPS.
This mid jungle for LGD are alive this game, this time around. Haichao with a much rougher early game finally gets into this, and iBoy, he's just going to try and take this mid-tier 1, try to make it even for his team.
And even
barely isn't even able to get that. The Baron yet again here for LGD.
Start to believe for LGD at 0-7. I said I wanted a 2-0. I didn't want this to go to a third game, and for all the LGD faithful, these are the kind of plays you want to see them make.
This is so good for them. That find, that was a great face check coming out from Haichao using the Scatter of the Week there. And it's just this play right here connecting onto Zhao Hao. Haichao as well, executing him. He's already picked up 120 of those Syndra Splinters. Getting all of these kills, it makes the gold into their favor. It gives them the Baron. We'll have to see what they can do with it, because the first Baron they got, they weren't able to grab too many turrets. This time around, if they're able to take more structures, this could be the game we're waiting for. Envy gets caught.
He does, but nobody was willing to commit to that after the fact. Remember, TP was used by ZDZ, so he's not going to be able to find a massive flank ward play. Dragon up in 2 minutes 30, so this is all about the Baron push in mid lane. You can see Meteor now just kind of utilizing in his health bar to push himself back in towards this mid lane and push everybody else out. That's 1 tier 2 down. Still a lot to go here for LGD, but they finally got themselves a gold lead, and they're looking more confident than AL. That's all I can say.
Harder has to be looking for a flank. ZDZ, he's playing on the fringes, but is not really looking for many plays. LGD, stop walking topside. There's nothing up here. We need to go bot lane so we can grab this tier 2. There's nothing for us here. This mini wave is not going to be here in time. It seems like instead, they just want to focus on mid lane. Get this inhibitor tower for themselves. Playing on this wave, a minute and a half.
ZDZ, he has to use the mist to try and keep himself safe, but now he gets punched in straight away. Will actually turn this one right back around and take down the Vi. Harder in the middle of no man's land. He flashed in to find a play, and he will suffer the consequences for it. Now the inhibitor is down, the base is cracked open. And do they want to go for a little bit more? They're trying to see if they can make something else happen. Green and white is a powerful combination of guns, and they've still got Baron for a minute.
They're trying to summon this in, a wave coming in. This could be LGD's first win in the LPL Summer Split. And they're looking to push. Now, massive guns here for Envy.
Oh, massive guns here. Gonna force iBoy into a stasis because he just cannot die. If he dies, he knows the game is over, and that could just be it. Now they're gonna try and see if Haichao or Xiaohao can kill him off, but he just can't do it. Jin Zhao sets him up, but I think they might have done it all. I think they might have been able to finally be able to get themselves a series win. LGD in LPL Summer 2023 are finally on the board.
It took them until week 4 to do it. They had to take down everybody. They got so close to finding wins. Envy just putting down damage. You could see it. They're relieved. LGD, man, they've gotten it. They've crested over to finally finding that first win.
Great win here for LGD. Look, it's not exactly the greatest of situations you find yourself in, but you gotta try your hardest. You gotta put yourself on the board. 1-7. And look, I'm not saying they're gonna make a run. I'm just saying that there is hope. I'm just saying that you now have a chance. You do not want to be going into the second half of the split 0-8. And thankfully for LGD, it's not much better, but 1-7 is still better.
This is the first time they've been able to do this all summer split. It's got to feel good for some of the LGD fans. You saw the Envy fighting poster there. Relief, at the very least for them, that they're able to win that game. Coming back as well, it was looking like we were going to 3. AL had such a big advantage in the early game. And Haichao and Meteor stepping up, specifically Meteor having such a good game. Setting up his team for success and making sure that he's like, no, this is not happening again. I can't take 8 in a row here.
I mean, look, when you give Meteor a Vi twice in a row, we saw it just twice again, you know, kind of why this Vi is such a massive pick in the meta right now. Having that point-and-click ultimate when things are down, like flashes or Xayah ultimates or you know, miss from the Gwen to try and mitigate those engages, it just becomes an easier game for the team that has it. So for me, LGD, very well done for them. Delighted to see them get the win, and it means that nobody will be going winless in our split. That means that we will have, at minimum, everyone having at least one win, and that's always good to see. It's always a competitive season when everyone's taking a win.
There we go. Feels good. Heartbreaker there for anyone Legend who coming in, you know, they made some roster swaps. They did have iBoy starting, and kind of looking like old-fashioned AL, where they weren't really able to pick up a ton of wins in spring. Here again, kind of in a similar boat. Their season has not been very kind to them, and while they have pushed our top teams to 3 games, falling here to LGD, while it doesn't have a massive impact on your split, it's gotta feel a certain type of way when you lose to the team that hasn't won.
Yeah, it can feel bad. Look, there are no easy games in the LPL. I maintain that 100%. We've seen plenty of teams taking series and upsets of many a different top-tier team throughout the history of this prestigious league, but it never feels good when you have to drop to, you know, especially when those games start to rack up. You're 0-7, you should win, but then you kind of put it in perspective is that, you know, AL were 1-5, not exactly a million miles ahead of LGD themselves. So it is exactly as you say, though. It is always, you know, kind of feel like a bit of a mental boom. And for me, AL, I don't know where to go with this team right now. It does feel like they're trying their very best to bring in the mid laner, swapping him out, bringing in iBoy. They are trying things because I think they know that whatever they've got right now just isn't working.
You can see it in the damage graph. I mean, the fact that Xiaohao has an opener like that. Haichao taken out of the game so early on. Not much for Envy and Jin Zhao to do, where we saw iBoy and Zora, I think, have an okay laning phase. Specifically Zora, I think, leading in that charge. Not able to find anything. Not able to find a win here in today. I gotta say again, Meteor, man, this guy was the carry, was the one to grab the reins of this game. He got his Black Cleaver, he got his Redemption, he was just constantly making plays with the cease and desist. And for LGD, like, they brought in this new top laner, no longer with Fearness, Decade coming in, does bring, I think, a little bit of a different flair, but so far this week at least, and at least recently, moving away further from some of those bruisers and needing to say, we need you on a tank. We need to have some kind of front line, someone that is going to stand in front of us, because currently trying to play these multi-flex roles, having multiple different threats, is not working for our team.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm always delighted for a team to pick up their first win, especially a team like LGD, which, if you've been following the LPL closely enough, you know that they had sparks. They've had moments of
Yeah.
absolute brilliance. But we are going to send it over to Christina, who's ready with a winner's interview with Jinzhou.
Hello there, welcome to Post-Game Interview. I'm Christina. We're joined by Jin Jiao, the support for LGD. Congratulations on your 2-0 victory. It is your very first win of summer season. So first question for you, how do you feel about this first win and what does this victory mean to you from your perspective? 欢迎金角来到我们的赛后采访，恭喜老干爹在今天的这场比赛中2-0拿下了对手，同样也是收获了夏季赛的首胜。这一场胜利虽迟但到，我们也看到今天老干爹发挥非常出色。你觉得今天拿下这场胜利之后感觉怎么样呢？这场比赛的胜利对你们来说又意味着什么呢？
我觉得这场比赛对我们来说非常关键吧，因为现在我们已经0杠7了，然后赢下这一场的话，我觉得是比较关键一点的，这个还有希望吧，还能有希望进季后赛。
So from my perspective, I'm very happy and excited about this first win. It shows that we still have the hope to make the playoffs. So this game plays a very important role for us, for our team. And the next question I want to talk about a little bit. I do believe you guys made a lot of efforts to improve your form, maybe in terms of team synergy, your understanding to the meta. So could you please elaborate a little bit more about this aspect and how did you guys prepare for this matchup against AL, or how did you guys prepare in the past few weeks? 那么第二个问题，正像金角选手提到的，这场比赛也是非常关键嘛。同时，我们也一直相信老干爹一直在积极的寻找适合自己的战术风格和体系。那么想可不可以跟我们大概说一下，在过去的几段时间里面，队伍这边做了哪些方面的努力呢？特别是今天对阵到 AL 这场对局的时候。
过去我们做出改变的话，就是偏沟通一些吧。然后我觉得大家打的都还不错的，然后就是整体的沟通有些出入，然后有时候打的时候决策也不是特别好，我感觉这方面稍微加强一些，我们还是可以的。
So in past few days, we just fixed our communication issues because from my perspective, I think we players plays very well, but maybe we are struggling about our team communication issues. So in past few days, we just improved this aspect. And let's talk about game 1. And you made a tower dive on bowling in very early game, and you guys snowballed the game from the bowling in very earlier. So how did you guys manage to make that tower dive on bowling and try to ensure you can get leads on bowling to snowball this game very smoothly? 那么其实我们今天从第一局就可以看到，队伍在很前期的时候就做了一波4包2的决策，在下路，同时也是从这一波开始，下面就拿到了优势滚起的雪球。所以想问一下，在第一局前期做出这样一个沟通决策的原因是什么呢？是觉得要针对到对面的恶锤吗？
这一波是因为对面先锋被我们犯眼了，就是我们的上单去犯了个眼，然后看到了对面在打先锋，然后我们中野就刚好往下路走了，然后我们就正好做了一波4包2吧。
So about this tower dive, that is because our top lane put a ward in the rift hold. So we just know our opponent is trying to secure the rift hold, and our mid jungle also went to the ball lane, made the perfect tower dive and get some leads. And a final question for you: in game 2, it was a little bit shaky because your opponent got Gwen, causing this very strong top jungle duo, and they secured some kills and leads, especially the dragons and the rift hold from early game. But how did you guys managed to steal the first Baron in 20 minutes and bounce back to get this win? 那么第4个问题也是我们今天的最后一个问题。第2局的时候，对面拿出格温螳螂这样一个非常强势的上野组合，并且对面的打野在前期的时候也是积极的带起节奏，获得了一些资源上的优势。那么队伍这边是怎么样从20分钟的时候国豪抢掉了那条大龙开始，就成功的扭转局势呢？
那里是什么情况来着？
那可不可以跟我们说一下，在中期大概队伍会不会觉得是怎么样去应对对面的压力的？
就我们中期的时候，因为螳螂这个英雄的优势吧，然后我们视野压力很大，然后但是一直沟通，就是发育，一直等，然后等 AD 跟中单的装备，然后稍微打一些那种大的资源团吧。
So in mid-game, we just need to stabilize our mentality and just farm until our mid laner and our bot laner get very well items because they got Kazakhs jungler, which is give us a lot of pressure about vision. So we just need to hold down and start the game to the late game to get this win. Thank you so much for joining us. 谢谢金角来到我们的赛后采访，也期待之后老干爹越打越好。Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Christina. And of course, thank you so much to Jinjiao for that great interview. And